Hello everyone, welcome to Invictus Racing League Season 15, Round 2 of our PC League in partnership with Grid Finder. Today we are off to Austria. Round 2, we had a pretty exciting Round 1, even though I wasn't there. I've heard that it was quite enthralling, and so I'm super excited to see all the cars out here. Round 2 in Austria. I think we're going to have a bit more of a stacked grid than we did last week. And I'm looking very forward to it. While we're waiting before we get into qualifying and we're getting the lobby set up, we'll have a look at the standings. So it was Sync taking out the win last week at Bahrain. Owen in second, Scotty in third. Some good drives there from the Alpine drivers. And it was Ben and Alessio coming at 4th and 5th for Mercedes, picking up 8 and 6 points respectively. Kent, the Alfa Romeo pilot, in 6th on 5 points. Chris in the Alfa Tauri with 4. Grima in the Red Bull on 3. And Liquidus in the Ferrari on 2. And that obviously means with our constructor standings, only 1 week of races through so far. We have Alpine currently in 1st on 23 points. AlphaTauri 2nd on 19. Mercedes 14 in 3rd. And we have Alfa Romeo, Red Bull and Ferrari, the last 3 constructors with points to their name at the moment. Obviously no Haas or Williams seats being filled so far. We do have a couple of reserve drivers in this league, but it's a bit of a question as to whether we'll actually see them today. I don't expect them to be here. I haven't heard that they'll be on. But yeah, that is the Season 15 standings after Round 1. Hopefully we get a bit of a shake-up after Round 2. There's going to be a few more cars out there. There were 10 drivers last week. I'm fairly certain it was Callum who picked up a DNF last week in Bahrain. Not exactly sure why. Could have been a disconnection or could have been just a mechanical crash, I guess. But that is okay. There's obviously a chance for some redemption today. A lot of cars that didn't get points and weren't there last week will have a decent chance to get back in, and there's also a good chance for the likes of Sync, Owen and Scotty to really build on what they've started with, and especially for Alpine who have, they're looking good. So is AlphaTauri. Sync is gonna be hard to stop, I imagine, today. So I've commentated, I've watched a fair bit of Owen and Scotty already, same as Kent and Big Man JP. So I know what I kind of expect from those drivers when they are out on the track, but there's a lot of unknowns there, which I haven't seen yet, and I'm very excited to see the likes of Sync, Ben, Alessio, Chris, and pretty much everyone, honestly. There's obviously some drivers that weren't there for Bahrain that will be here today at Austria who may surprise everyone because they weren't there last week. They didn't have a chance to get any points, and now that they are ready and firing, they could cause a bit of havoc. We should be getting underway in a matter of moments. And yes, Grid Finder, fantastic. I don't have the ad roll on me. But yes, doing wonders for the Invictus Racing League. It's always good to have a big name alongside. Gets the league out there and gets some more attention in. So yeah, that's what you like to see. I'm really excited to see how some of these drivers are going to tackle the second sector here at Austria. It's normally the one that people forget about the most, because a lot of people, you first think of Austria, you think turn 3, which I suppose is the start of sector 2, apologies, and turns 9 and 10, which those are most famous when it comes to whether you put together a good lap in qualifying or you don't, and it kind of just falls apart all there. So yeah, see how these drivers, again, in the second sector where it's turn 4 is really critical. You really need to find a nice spot to apex and getting nice drive out of the corner, and then how you can try and piece it together through turn 6 and 7 with those two left-handers back to back. You can kind of go, you can't quite go all out, obviously, so you do need to find the amount. You just need to find the right amount of braking pressure that you need going into that turn, and make sure you don't lose too much time, make sure you don't go flying off into the gravel either. But we are slowly filling out this lobby. And I'm scared because there's drivers here that I have never seen before. So from what I see at the moment, I'll just tell you what I can see. We've got Scotty, Callum, Chris, Kent, Owen, Don, Ben, 1, 2, 3 for Red Bull. I'm not exactly certain who that is. We are getting some more drivers in. Again, not sure what's... It's a bit of confusion. I'm not exactly certain with who some of these drivers are, but that's okay. I'm just gonna wing it because that's how we roll. Yeah, it looks like we're still slowly filling out the lobby. There's just a few latecomers. That's okay. We will push on. Just doing some last checks here. I'll leave the standings up for people who are interested in viewing those while we wait. And then we will slowly make our way into qualifying, which is short qualifying here at Austria. And it will be followed by 36 laps in a 50% race. That leaves plenty of opportunities, so much like choices when it comes to strategy here. I think some drivers might be keen to slam the 2-stop, especially the more aggressive drivers, the ones that you see more to the front of the grid. You don't see too many drivers in, say, the first 5 or 6 that will settle for a 1-stop, because it means that they're really trying to work their tyres home, and they might get swallowed up by the drivers behind them that will do a 2-stop and will have fresh softs right at the end of the race. Or, yeah, I suppose that would be the strategy. There's a lot up in the air. I don't know if there's going to be any rain. Still not quite certain about that one. We will find out in due time. And this lobby slowly filling out. There are a few more drivers joining. We've got Liquidus in. There's a lot of people in that I am not familiar with. I keep bringing it up, but not sure why. It is okay. Expect Owen and Scotty to have a really good showing today. They're always pretty, like, they're there or thereabouts always. I've seen Scotty's racing ability driving from the back of a grid, and he can really power his way through. And I know Owen's just that consistent performer. Like, he goes out there and you know what you're going to get from him. So that should be an interesting battle hopefully they're not battling for the sake of their constructors' hopes, as they are in the top position in the constructors' standings. And sorry about these noises real quick. I am just double checking some things. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what's happening at the moment, but hopefully whatever is the problem will be fixed in a short amount of time. I think it's just a bunch of drivers readying up for some qualifying. I think EA's lobby system's somewhat broken again. What a surprise. Yeah. Looks like the lobby's thinning out a little bit. Got a few drivers from the... Well, we have a couple of drivers from Xbox and a few from PlayStation. As it looks like we are about to get underway with qualifying. I think we are on our way to Austria, finally. We have made it, ladies and gentlemen. Mambo number 5. Just kidding. If I played that, there'd be big issues for DMCA. Oh, never mind. We are making a new lobby. Okay. Apologies. We're just having some technical issues and whatnot. Things happen. That's how it is. Yeah. I can't say that it doesn't happen to me. It's happened to me multiple times in the past. So we will be getting back soon or later. Should be about 5 minutes or so. Probably, hopefully less than that. Just getting everyone back into the lobby. I hope everyone found a way to enjoy the race at Spa on Sunday. I know it was a little bit boring towards the end and throughout the middle and not long after the start, but geez, Max Verstappen looked incredibly quick. Hoping we can get everyone into the lobby in a matter of moments. I was hoping to be more prepared for this, but it kind of just crept up on me again, which is a bit of a problem. I don't like it when that happens. Apologies, it might be a little bit longer than 5 minutes. We'll just do that. Hey, there we go. Okay, we are cooking with gas. Apologies for 17-minute wait. But that is fine. We are here. And we should be getting into qualifying very soon. Not sure if we're waiting for a couple more drivers or not. Okay, so we have I want to say that is Speedy in the McLaren, Jonty. We have Dark Salt in the Haas, I think, who is a new addition to the league. I should really pay more attention to that, but that's what my sources tell me. We have Chris, Owen, Don, Scotty, and we have Kent in the Alfa Romeo with Miley, who is also in the Alfa Romeo. I'm not quite certain if they are a reserve driver. They might be a reserve filling in for Alfa Romeo with no big man here. Yeah, we're just having a few issues. Apologies for the wait once more. And then we have Grima in the Red Bull, we have Ben in the Mercedes, we have Callum in the McLaren, and Liquidus in the Ferrari. So we have filled out a fair bit of this lobby so far. We looking like we have 12 or so seats. Okay, we are slowly preparing for qualifying. Should be, this time, a matter of moments. This time. You're going to have to trust me on this. Really could have gone for some music at the start here, as we have had a bit of an extended wait, but you guys will do just fine without it. Not sure if you guys would like to look at the standings once more. Oh, looks like we're having a few more issues. David 46 has joined. And Liquidus has returned. Both Ferrari drivers are in. Looks like we're finally getting towards qualifying. Okay. We are about to get into qualifying. Unbelievable stuff here. Unbelievable scenes in the F1 22 world for the Invictus Racing League Season 15 Round 2 PC League in partnership with Grid Finder. I'm excited. I'm so keen. I'm yet to see a fully competitive league race at Austria. And I'm really interested to see what sort of times get set in a lobby like this. Edge of my seat already, and we haven't even fully loaded in yet. That's how excited I am. Okay. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, for some qualifying. No one has edited out yet. But still no one headed out just yet. We will transition over as some cars are making their way out of the garage. We have an Alpine and a McLaren on their way out, and we will follow on board with, hopefully it is Scotty on their way out of the pits. It is not, it is Owen. No, it is Owen, first out of the pit lane, warming up the tyres on this outlap, as we have the McLaren of Callum also following suit. Again, apologies for any issues graphics wise. I'm not sure exactly why they happen, but they do. But we've got Owen heading down the back straight now. Obviously not much to talk about on this outlap. It's really all about how you try and conserve these tyres. You got to make sure you don't burn them out too much while getting enough heat into them so that they will be in the perfect working window for about a 65 to 70 second lap around this course. So follow him through the third sector, just grabbing a bit of that curb, trying to heat up the tyres rapidly. Going through the last sector here. It's going to be a pretty flowing run as we head down. Nice slide out, heading down the main straight. DRS wide open. No, actually, not quite. But we do have Callum on the first flying lap of the session, heading down into turn 1. Nice apex. Beautiful turn there. And heading down the first DRS straight off the lap. Also, maybe the second through turn 2. Up into turn 3. Hits the braking zone, maybe just a little bit late. Now heading on the run down to turn 4. See if we can get nice view here. Nicely put together there. Beautiful flowing line through. Should set up for a beautiful turn 6 and 7. Here we go. Nicely taken there. The purple sector, but it is also the second sector taken. And we're heading through sector 3. Last couple of turns. Really important to make sure you get a nice banker lap in. And it is straight into the pit lane. Obviously not too happy with that one, as Don has set the first lap a 105.1. A really, really nice showing. Ben setting a 106.0. And we have a 105.5 coming from Chris. It is Grima coming through the third sector now. All battery is pretty much gone, and it will be a 107.4. It could be Scotty now coming across the line. It is. And the 105.6. Some good bankers in so far. I really think Don is obviously in the best position at 105.1. That is incredibly solid for your first lap in the session. You've probably got 2 or 3 more runs. It is such a small circuit that you can get out there and do a few attempts. We're going to have Jonty coming through now. Coming across the line. 105.3. Beautiful stuff from Jonty. We got the 2 Ferraris coming over. And it looks like Liquidus might actually be on a fly here. We are going to follow with Liquidus for this lap. Heading up the first straight here. Got a bit of a tow there from the McLaren. Might cop a bit of a tow here from his teammate if his teammate's ever so wonderful to help him out. But it seems quite unlikely now. The gap is a bit too large. A lot of the first runners have gone into the pits. Beautiful line there. That looked very clean. Gonna head down through turns 6 and 7. Gotta make sure you don't overkill, go onto the grass or the runoff there. Does a very nice job through the chicane. Looked very stable there. Gonna head into the third sector now. Turn 9 and 10. You know how important they are. I've already said it. Nicely driven through turn 9. Doesn't go off the track. Turn 10. Looks good enough. Gonna race to the line, and it's gonna be a 106.4. So, even though everything looked quite nice, it wasn't quite fast enough. Just not quite. Because I think we have Callum on a flyer. Nope, Callum is on an outlap. We did see Callum, who was the first runner for an for a flying lap, and then decided, no, I will not, and came into the pit lane right at the end. We'll let his teammate go through as we have Jonty on another flyer. Obviously had enough fuel to go out for a second lap here, second flying lap. Very desperate on fuel though. Heading up into turn 3. And that looked very nice through there. It's not all about how fast you take turn 3, it's really about how well you can get the drive out of the corner, because it's such a steep incline into a turn, and it feels very uncomfortable for lots of drivers to take. So if you can get into a rhythm where you feel comfortable taking it at a certain pace, and that's beautiful, that's what you need. As we got Jonty coming through second sector, as he picked up a purple second sector. That's a very nice bit there for him. Coming through sector 3. Nice little on board there. Bit of a flick after turn 9, turn 10. Gets the run down the line. I think we're going to be hitting the 105.171. I thought for sure we were going to be in the 104s, but not quite. His teammate crosses the line. It will be Callum coming through for a fly, and now I imagine we're going to stick on board with the other McLaren this time, as they might be able to pick up a tow. Let's see if their teammate slows down enough down this second straight. DRS wide open for Callum. Might be able to get it. Could be his teammate just giving him lots of room on this turn, and it is. So no tow down into turn 4, but I'm sure that's not going to be much of an issue. I think Callum should be able to punch in a pretty good time regardless here. Turn 4. Could have been a little bit wide there going into the corner. That's okay, we'll push on. Heading through turn 6. Gonna cross the sector line soon, and we'll see how it shapes up. 6 seconds up on his previous lap. That's a very, well, doesn't really tell us much, as the first lap was a 1 minute 16.9. We've got green flags for the last sector. Turn 9. Heading through to the last turn now. Seemed to be a very clean exit, but it should be a 106.4. Puts him up into 9th. As we will follow with Miley. Heading across the line, we'll pick up a 105.2, up into 3rd place now. Brilliant stuff. We do have a Mercedes coming across the line very soon. It is Ben. Haven't really seen the Mercedes near the front of the grid yet in this qualifying session, and won't improve. It's a 107.0 for Ben. And we might be... I think we'll follow Scotty for a bit now. He's going to be heading on his flyer. Make sure to use a fair bit of the battery. Heading into the line and then up into turn 1. Again, a very steep incline to the turn 1. That's all it is. Turn 1 and 3 are all on the way up, and then the rest of the course is how well can you manage the front tyres heading downhill. Heading up into turn 3 now, Scotty. He's done this plenty of times before. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. That looked very comfortable. And he looks like a bit of a veteran driver out there. Heading into turn 4. Uses all of the curb available to get the widest entry possible, which helps him set up for that exit line. Now let's see if he does the same. Heading into turn 6, he does. Eats a lot of the curb, but it seems to be fine heading into a turn. So he's going to head through turn 7 and 8 there. Beautiful line through the chicane. As we are going through the last couple of corners now. Nice line. Does really push the car all the way. And it is a 105.28. 0.3 better, but not quite enough to go up a spot. As we have an AlphaTauri coming into the pits, and I think we will have Grima heading out on a flyer. Follow along with Grima for the time being. We have 8 minutes left in this session. Jonty with a 105.1 leading from Don with also a 105.1. It's 1/100th of a second, the difference between these two drivers. Miley in third, it's 105.2. Not that far off the pace either. That's only 0.06 of a second. And then we have Scotty, who's just over a 10th behind pole position right now. But it is a very bunched up grid for the first 5 or 6, you think. Dark Salt in his first showing, looking very solid so far. Joseph, we will get a bit of an idea on how his lap is faring after a 107.4 in his first run. Heading through Sector 2 now, about to cross the Sector 2 line. Up 0.2 on his previous. It's not quite going to be enough to even move up a position at this rate, as he's a full second behind 11th. Heading through the last sector now. Doesn't quite look there with the car. But still, nice bit of connection through the last sector. And it is a 107.1. Yet to move, but that's perfectly fine. We're going to follow along with Don. He's just started his flyer. After setting a 105.1 in his first run, Dark Soul goes provisional pole. I just missed it. Apologies. But it is a purple sector for Don. Again, Dark Soul, rookie to the league, I imagine. Just rocked up this week, if I'm not mistaken, and has put the car on provisional pole for the time being. It is all up to how Don does in this lap. Probably going to do this lap and then just head straight back into the pits and get some new softs on before he does another stint. Here we go, Don coming through the second, going into the final sector now. Didn't quite catch the time and if there was any improvement over the previous lap, but through turn 9 we go. Looks pretty clean there. Through turn 10. Misses the curb, if I'm not mistaken. But there we go. Don answers back. That's what I was expecting and what you like to see. You like to see cars answering back for pole position. Don, a 104.91. Absolutely beautiful. That is an incredible time. 700s up on Dark Salt. And that really makes this pole fight interesting with just under 5.5 minutes to go in this short quality session. It is Jonty coming through the final sector. Was up 6 seconds on his last lap. Might have just saved some battery. And did. And this will be the flying lap. We will stay on board. We will follow Jonty, at least for this lap. He's going to make his way through turn 2 very soon. Heading up this hill. Has gotten away from the AlphaTauri, who's also on a flyer. Actually, you might get a bit of a tow. It's going to be Chris with the tow coming through. Bit of a flick out from Jonty. It's not what you want to see. could lose a bit of time there. Is now 2 tenths off from the front row. So obviously, everyone leaves themselves a bit of room to improve and has actually given up on this lap. In fact, we'll let Chris go through and we will follow Chris for the time being, going through turn 6. Be able to see how his lap is looking in comparison to his previous. It's up 2 tenths, or down 2 tenths, apologies. So that's not what you want to see. And so we will maybe look to see what Miley is doing, in fact. Just on a flyer now. After setting a 105.2, going to be heading up the hill. We'll see if the first sector gets much improvement. It's really hard to get a large improvement in this first sector. Again, was down by only 300ths, which is minuscule, really. But a crash means it is a bit more than minuscule. There's going to be a yellow flag in the first sector. No. Has found the wall again, clipping more and more off that front wing. This is not looking too good. And we will just keep watching this for the time being. I feel like it's a bit crude. But that front wing's completely gone. I'm not sure if Miley's going to be able to get that back into the pit lane, get the front wing replaced, get some new tyres on, and get back out before the session ends. I'm a bit concerned for them. But we will follow Owen for the time being, who's swerving, getting these tyres up again. Still yet to set a time. I feel like it was Owen who was the first man out in this qualifying session. Was going to be the first man to set a time first over the line for a flying lap, and instantly gave up on it. Something obviously didn't feel quite right. Might have tinkered with a bit of the setup. Wanted to keep the tyres as good as possible. Even like as soon as he knew that something wasn't right, he's like, okay, I'm just going to back off. And I'll use this time to figure out what I need to change and go get some new tyres and go get this fixed. But now Owen, with plenty of battery to spend, going to head over the line for his final attempt this session, you'd think, unless there's enough for 2 laps worth of qualifying, which there really could be. Heading through turn 1, nicely taken. The car just sticks to the road. It's unbelievable how it goes through turn 1. So we're heading up the hill. We're going to be stuck behind a Ferrari on its outlap. It looks like it is Liquidus on their outlap. We have Scotty going slowly up the straight, going to let Grima through. As we've got Owen heading down the back straight. This Ferrari needs to get out of the way. It's a bit dangerous. This line's not that good. The Ferrari has to take off to the grass. And that's still a very wide line from Owen. We will find out how it's affected the lap very soon. Heading through turn 6. Looks like it's pretty good through there. We don't get a comparison, unfortunately. And we will just have to see how this time fares at the end of the lap. But I imagine that Owen's probably still got a little bit in the tank left for one more flyer after this. Heading over the line, it's going to be a 105.6. Puts him up into 7th. And he will slow this one all the way down. He might actually be able to get around with one more cooldown lap. Can use no DRS down this straight. And we will follow along with Liquidus. No, Liquidus is in the pits. Apologies. It is David46 who will watch right at the end of this session. We will cross over to Dark Salt. Oh, never mind. Dark Salt goes pole. I thought maybe he was just starting his flying lap, but caught him at the wrong end of it. Dark Salt goes pole. Don is on his outlap. We might actually cross over to Don, because this will be really interesting. Doesn't quite go too far wide in the last sector. That was looking a little bit dangerous. It's a 104.9 that his time is currently. He has to go about 400th of a second quicker to get onto pole. Maybe actually 300ths would even do it. As we head up into turn 3, is down 2,000ths of a second. Heading through turn 3. Looks pretty clean through there. Lots of sparks flying out from the rear of the car. It is a purple sector 1. He's really got this car geared in for that first sector. Heading into turn 4. Takes a lot of that curb. And has a pretty clean exit. Some more sparks flying out the back. Going to take the car through turn 5. Into turn 6. The left-hander. have to keep it together. Looks pretty good for now. Down 0.03 of a second. The magic number here. Only has to hold it through the third sector. It's a purple sector too as well. This is looking to be the perfect lap. Just has to keep it together through the final sector. Doesn't, just stays inside. Through the last 2 turns, heading over the line, and it should be pole. Absolutely blistering lap from Don. A 104.799. He made up so much time in that final sector. That's incredible. And it looks like we got Miley coming over the line to 105.0. Unbelievable stuff. Miley was in fact able to get a new wing on, some new tyres on, and get out there and get a lap done. And that's the session. Everyone's finished. And Don takes pole. Dark Salt P2. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. As we will take a look. Here at the times, a 104.7 from Don. You don't see that often, do you? That is quite something. Dark Salt, new to the league, and immediately puts the car on the front row. We've got a German front row lockout. That's something you don't see every day. And we have Miley coming home in third at the moment, putting the car in third. Jonty on fourth. Some good driving there. Scotty in fifth. Chris, David, Owen, Kent, Callum, Ben, Liquidus, and Grima, who unfortunately couldn't quite get the lap they wanted. But, you know, there's still plenty of time in this race. 50% at Austria is still a lot of laps. I think there'll be a couple of cars towards the back of the grid that'll be able to charge their way through and really, really make a difference. Looks like we just get straight into the race, which is what I like to see. And we should be getting underway soon. Just waiting for the game to do its thing. We are going to have no formation lap. Hearing word that Miles bottled a 4.8. That is unfortunate. But still, got to be happy with where you are. Here we are, just in a bit of a lull at the moment. Apologies for the silence. Again, there's no music to accompany this. I'd like to thank Grid Finder once again. Doing an incredible job. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Grid Finder, you're the king. But the German 1-2 lockout. Very interesting stuff. Dark Salt who had been contending right from the minute he set foot on the track. It was quite incredible. But then the Aston Martin. Here we go. We are getting underway. 5 lights and we are underway here. And I will keep it this way for the time being. Some early movers. As we have a few cars run off wide and there's a massive slide for Chris. But we've still got Don and Dark Salt heading into turn 3 in a very solid position. Jonty has pretty much held position as well. Scotty's made a couple of moves. Kent, I think, has done a fairly solid job, if I'm not mistaken. Here we go. We will look at the movers and sliders. Kent up 4 places. Liquidus up 6. Doing a stellar job so far. Miley. Is it Miley? Yes, Miley. Unfortunately, fallen 10 places from 3rd on the grid. Not what you want to see. But a very strong start here from Don. We will stick around with Scotty as he heads through the 3rd sector. A lot of cars in tow. That's what you want to see. There's a bit of a gap being formed between 6th and 7th. As Don sets the fastest lap on the first lap. What a surprise. There could be a potential move made here with Ben in the Mercedes right on the tail of Callum in the McLaren. Heading up into turn 3. And don't think there's going to be any late dive bombs there from Ben. We will stick with Ben for the time being. Dark Salt also pressing the case towards Don. Jonty's just fallen off slowly and slightly. Ben's still very close behind, able to keep it together. Greamer's fallen slowly. Bit of an error through turn 4 will send Greamer down right to the back of the grid as Miley gets past. Let's see if Ben can get this move done. Dark Salt very close at the front. If we don't see a move here very soon, might have to change over and see how that one goes. Dark Salt sets the fastest lap. Definitely pressing the case, getting ever closer. As Ben still hot on the heels. I think he's very happy to tuck in. Maybe get some DRS this lap up the straight. Has it now. Should be very easy heading into turn 3 as he's right behind that McLaren. Going to challenge them under the brakes. Goes around the outside. Looks like it'll stick. No, has to go off the course. And Callum holds on just well enough. It could be a double dosage of DRS. Ben actually not getting it through turn 3 or turn 4 here. As we will have to stick behind once again. And we will just follow along with Dark Salt still inside that 1 second gap. There's a lot of cars that have fallen outside of it really quickly. That was a bit of a surprise. We've got Chris had to make an early entrance into the pit lane. Obviously there was some form of damage there that had to be fixed up. Obviously probably the front wing there. Don setting a fastest lap in response to Dark Salt's fastest lap on lap 3. Lap 3. I know my stuff, trust me. We do have Ben still very close. We will follow with Ben once again. Again with DRS. Might just decide to tuck into turn 3. Not going to do anything silly. Try and look for the better exit. Can't really force too much out of Callum there. But with this DRS heading down into turn 4, the gap is actually widening slowly. But with DRS and this overspeed, might look for a challenge around the outside. Callum goes defensive. Could be a chance for a better exit from Ben. But Callum does enough. He's looking very solid so far defending right now. And he's actually gotten inside the DRS of Liquidus, who I think is currently ghost driving. And I'm not mistaken. We'll follow with Dark Salt again. Heading through the last couple of corners here. Don's doing a fine job so far, but Dark has closed the gap again. A couple of tenths. It seems to be a bit of a back and forth of 2 tenths this way, 2 tenths that way. So they follow them up into turn 1. Going to be a fair bit of DRS again for the Haas. But I'm not sure if it'll be able to close the gap up this straight. Doesn't seem like many of the cars are really able to defend or to attack that well with DRS. Ben might be the only car with a decent chance, but Callum's gotten up into DRS. Also has the drag reduction system heading around the outside once again is Ben. I think he has to try and challenge Callum up the inside. It's going to be hard to do. Callum does protect the inside very well. Heading down into turn 3 and to turn 4. It's going to be a very wide entry. It's very, very defensive, and it's going to be the switchback from Ben. Beautiful driving work there. Will make the move stick too. That's what you like to see. That was brilliantly put together. That was some fantastic driving. Owen has actually caught up behind Owen as well. Wait, Owen has caught up behind Callum. Apologies. And might be on the cards for Callum to quickly lose a couple of places here over the course of 2 or 3 laps. Dark Salt not really making any impressions anymore, but they have dropped Jonty. Jonty was hanging around a second or so for a couple of laps there, but is now outside 2 seconds, and that's going to be hard to try and make up. I think there's going to have a bit of a differing strategy here. So we will look at the interval once again, and we'll just stick with this for the time being. Liquidus being overtaken by Ben, obviously not here for the race, unfortunately. Ben will get that move done. And now, with Callum getting that move, means that Owen's got a fair bit of work to do. We'll have a nice Ferrari draft to eat up and drive through. But still, fair bit of work. Oh, oops, pressed the wrong button. That was funny. We're going to follow with Darksoft again. Actually, we'll go with Don, because we've been watching the Haas a bit too much. We're not watching the leader of the race, who is currently driving, I'd say, near perfectly. There's not been any mistakes so far that I've seen visibly. It's able to keep Darksoft away, even with this helping of DRS. Could be hurting the battery a fair bit though. That's what I'm concerned about. Could be a fair bit of battery use for the Aston Martin driver here. Looking to get some very valuable points for his team in this Constructors' Championship, and for himself in the Drivers' Championship, trying to make up some places, as we don't have sync here today in the AlphaTauri. So it's a great opportunity. Bit of an errant line through turn 4 has kind of closed his gap down back under 5/10, but again, just through the exit of the corner. I really think Don's getting better exits compared to Dark Salt, probably pushing the car a little bit further going through the entry into a corner. So that gap really closes down in the braking zone, but then Don able to get on the power earlier and really make it work as they head once again now for the 8th time around the Red Bull ring. And this gap sitting about 8/10 once again. Owen very hot on the heels of Callum. We'll follow them, both cars with DRS. Ben quite not able to get away from Callum so far, but Owen really sizing up an opportunity here. He's got really close after that exit in turn 1. Much better drive, better flowing line. Gonna probably tuck in again. There's not much you can do when the car in front of you has DRS. It's a bit of a waiting game. I think you really need to hold out and see if there's a mistake that comes from the driver. As we will see, one stop for both David and Chris. And there we go. Callum getting the move done on Ben. Apologies, I've just looked away. Just missed it. But we have one car on the softs. David making the swap to the softs. And Chris has gone to the hards, looking to see if he can make those work. But Callum, a massive mistake out of turn 6. And Callum's retired. And we are going to have a safety car. How will this affect the strategy? Scotty and Kent immediately into the pits. Owen follows suit. Could be a good chance for the Alfa Romeo of Miley to also come in after a bit of a horror start from them. We'll see how this goes. 4 cars in the pits. There could still be an opportunity for more cars to head in. As the safety car is just heading up the first straight on its way to turn 3. And that has really done... That's really just a massive spanner in the works for some cars who had really set off and done a fantastic job this race. And now the margin's going to crawl back. Jonty given a new lease on life, you would imagine here. After losing that gap, it had fallen away pretty significantly. And now Jonty's got a chance to really hang on tight until this first chance to pit. And he might just come in and try and differ up the strategy and see if he can beat them with maybe a couple of sets on, a couple of runs on soft tires. But we do have Don is in, and so is Dark Salt. I also feel like at some point throughout this race, I've called them Dark Soft. Apologies if I have, and apologies if I do in the future. But we're going to follow with Dark through the pits, and Jonty actually stays out. Interesting decision. I think... Oh no, Miley copping a penalty. 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Be a fair bit of track extending, that's what it is. Going outside of those white lines. Wouldn't say that Miley's too good at doing the colouring books, if I'm perfectly honest. But we're just going to have these cars lining up behind the safety car once again. It is Jonty who will be in first. Don, who took a pit stop under the safety car and managed to stay in second, or move only one spot down. Just shows you how much of a lead Don had in this race. And same as Dark Salt, who really should be in third. Surprised Liquidus is still able to be racing at the moment, as they are technically not here. There's a... Callum is not too happy with their performance. They've labelled it, or labelled themselves as so stupid. And it was an unfortunate mistake. See a lot of cars through there. It's sometimes hard. You want to get on the power earlier, and it just doesn't quite come together. So we're going to have one more lap. Try and see if we can bunch this grid up completely. It's going to be a fair bit of work to do for everyone that's probably behind Owen at this point. There's Grima, Miley, Chris and David. But yeah, there's a couple of drivers who stayed out. Chris and Jonty being the two. Callum obviously being the one that caused the safety car. Only doing 7 laps on those medium tyres. But it really is up to Jonty. He's the only one towards the front that hasn't pitted yet. There's only the only driver yet to pit at all. Because Liquidus... Again, not here, so I'm not sure about that one. But, yeah, definitely an interesting decision. Maybe he's expecting a safety car towards the end of the race. He could have definitely missed a trick here. I'm a little concerned for him. Owen! Oh no. A 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I'm sure there's some sort of mistake there. I'm sure he's got something to say about that, and we'll take it up with the stewards and the FIA in the following aftermath of this race. But here we go. Most of the grid is bunched up. I assume the safety car is on its way in. No. It is doing one more lap. It's a bit of a fan of some Daft Punk. Loves the main track on the Discovery album from 2001. Named One More Time. Miley making his way into the pits. Interesting decision. Could have maybe picked up some more damage. We will have a check. I'm too late. Apologies. I was talking about it and didn't really have the chance to do anything. There's a bit of a kerfuffle going on. And there's a bit of a collision. Kent's dropped back a long way. Moving slowly. Again, I'm not sure what happened there. It looked like the Ghost had gone very slow, and then a lot of cars behind that had bunched up, and after we had the group pretty much all together, and it was just Miley that had made his way into the pits. It's now Scotty with a 5-second penalty. You don't see that sort of stuff in the ARL, in the... No, the VRL. That's what it is. The Venturi Racing League. That's what it's called. But safety car is going to be coming in this lap. We are officially 1/3 of the way through at the end of this lap. We have a very transparent Ferrari in second, which is kind of like their performance so far in the real F1 season. They've kind of been there, but also not there. But the McLaren at the front is not something you see normally, if ever, this year in 2022 season. But we are back underway. This safety car restart seems to have been pretty clean. We have Dark Salt getting up into second. I did forget to touch on the fact that Don had slid all the way down to 10th, but has already made a move on David, getting up into 9th, back inside, doubling his points. Owen getting the move done on Ben. We're going to follow along with Ben, see if he makes a move up the inside. No, he's just going to get scarily close to the diffuser of the Alpine, heading into turn 4 now on the run down. Bit of a downhill, does even out, and then right into the corner. It's a bit more steep than you think it is, especially through the middle of the corner. Rides a lot of the curb, and Kent also getting past David. And Chris, oh no, Grima sliding down again. Very unfortunate scenes. We're going to follow with Owen, even with a penalty, made his way up into 5th. Very close behind this Ferrari. Obviously, it's not much of a hassle to get through. You can pretty much drive through the car, and Will is going to get past the Ferrari. And we'll have one more lap before we get DRS once again. Ben also able to get the move done on Liquidus, who is here / not here. But yeah, nice little train here of the 2 Alpines and the Mercedes. Chris has done an alright, a very good job early on in the race. Fell down and has now made his way back up into 6th. That's what you like to see. But Jonty still leading this race. Just, I think, question of how long will it be. But a big mistake again from Kent. Drops him down to last. We will follow on board with Jonty. 6/10 up on the Haas. I think as soon as DRS comes through, it's going to be a real struggle here for Jonty. He's got old mediums, Dark Salt, albeit on hards, new hards. Should make light work of this. Even managing to gain a bit of time through this 2nd and 3rd sector. Going through the last couple of corners. See how much time can be made up before we get DRS enabled this following lap. Should get it. And we do get it. Dark Salt 6/10. Should be given a nice dosage of DRS heading up into turn 3 now. Sticks behind very nicely. 7/10. It is sliding out a little bit. Outside 8/10 now. But DRS is going to drag it back probably within 6 or so tenths of a second. Going to be inside again. David getting the move done on his teammate. It's now Miley very close behind that Ferrari. We're going to follow Dark Salt here. Very close. Still hanging in there with the McLaren. Heading into turn 4. Bit of a... Definitely chose to brake later there, Dark Salt. Interesting decision. Maybe it was a little... I think if you're a little wary of the car in front of you, you probably did choose to brake earlier. So, had enough faith. I think it might have hurt his chances a little bit of keeping this lead underneath 5/10. It's kind of just hovering around there once again. As it seems like a lot of the drivers have kind of petered out. And it's all just become a little more settled now. Don picking up a 3-second penalty as he's carving his way up through the field. That's going to come back to bite him dearly at the end of this race. Don, who had qualified on pole and was leading for the entire race until a mistake under the safety car. Things are just falling apart. It's just ever so slightly here. Scotty and Ben having a back and forth up the straight. And it's going to be Ben who ends up ahead. And there's no DRS for Scotty, but should be able to stick very close behind even without DRS. We got Jonty getting overtaken in turn 4. I can't believe it. I've missed yet another overtake. I am incredibly good at missing overtakes. And Miley getting the move done on David, who has also gotten past Liquidus. But there's a bit of a tussle going on here. We'll see how this is going to end up. David's still got this Alfa Romeo right on his butt. Might be a chance to go up the inside. No, just going to hold the line. Love isn't always on time. Very wide there from David through turn 9, through turn 10. And Miley with an error. That's fallen a long way back. Has fallen behind the other Ferrari and has fallen 2 seconds behind that as well. We will follow with Ben. This DRS very, very close behind Owen. Heading down into turn 4. The gap has widened slowly after turn 3. Must have been a better exit from Owen. We've got a yellow flag. It is Miley who has retired from the session. Another DNF, unfortunately. What could have been for the Alpha driver. His teammate now in last. And it's going to be a very poor weekend, possibly, for the Alfa Romeo drivers. Miles not too happy with the game. We'll see. We'll keep riding with Ben. Heading through the last sector, 6/10. It's going to be a pit stop now from Jonty. I think that signals it's going to be a one stop from Jonty. You're going to put on the hards now and see if he can ride it out to the end. It's got a lot of pits coming in. Owen coming in, Chris coming in, David coming in, Liquidus. Not so sure about that one. But Jonty is not quite going to end up in front of Kent. Kent has made his way up into 6th, but still has some pit stops. A 1 at least to make, you'd imagine. I don't think many cars that pitted underneath the safety car will be able to get to the end. But actually, I can't believe I missed it. I'm very ignorant for some things. We got a safety car due to Miley's DNF, and that was what triggered these pit stops. Because there are a couple of drivers that went in that I think went in the first safety car, which was only about 9 laps ago. But I think now a lot of drivers will be comfortable, especially Jonty, who gets a free pit stop. He's probably onto the hards, you'd imagine. Who is onto the hards? Yes, we have one driver on mediums, who Chris will have to make a stop onto the softs. You don't think that he can run 18, 19 more laps on a medium set of tyres? That's going to be a mammoth task. I've only got 2 drivers with penalties now. Don with 3 seconds, Scotty with 5. A couple of drivers were able to remove their penalties in the pit lane. As we will have a look through. Ben up 9 places, doing a fantastic job so far. I've definitely felt like I've been watching him the most as he's been making his way through some of the midfield cars. Also, Grima up 8 places, probably still left with 1 pit stop to make in this race. There's 3 stops from David, 2 stops Owen, 2 stops for Chris. There's 3 stops from Miley as well before the DNF, unfortunately. But everyone has made their stop, so everyone does have the option to run to the end. But do people have the tyre age? Not quite. I think everyone from 1st through to 6th doesn't quite have that luxury. But everyone below that, excluding Chris, actually maybe not Owen. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 cars that could do it. I think Grima is a possibility. I think they seem to be pretty gentle on their tyres so far. But Jonty and David have a really good chance to run a 1-stop today. And there's those penalties once again, as we have the safety car coming in this lap. Going to bunch up the field. We've had no incidents under the safety car this time, which is very good to see. We'll watch Dark Salt under this safety car restart. Just backing up the grid. Gonna try and... oh no. Oh no. More penalties given out to drivers right at the end of the safety car. I cursed it. I thought there was a really good chance. Scotty's picked up some major damage, has to make his way into the pit lane. He's been disqualified for blocking the pit lane. And we have Chris into the pits. Dark Salt on the restart. Getting a nice little jump from Ben, but Ben's still there. He's still there or thereabouts. Scotty has some words about that incident, which is not surprising because that was very, very confusing. But we got Dark Salt still holding the lead, and nice move from David, who again has the choice to run to the end on these tyres. Very fresh hards. And I think a lot of drivers would be pretty comfortable running about 25 laps on hards. Definitely could imagine some drivers doing it. As Chris has fallen back, obviously with that pit stop right at the end of that safety car. Not the time that you want to be taking it, but Don, who's closing in on Ben. That'll be an interesting fight. Don and Ben. Oh, that's what dreams are made of. Two incredibly quick drivers. As I say that, Don has fallen back. And Grima has to take a pit stop. We've got a few DNFs and a disqualification, unfortunately, for Scotty. But Ben up inside 5/10, under 4/10, just hanging around there, getting through turn 3. The gap does widen slowly. But again, Ben just hanging in there. And gets the slipstream heading down into turn 4. This gap, even without DRS, he's able to keep it at a pretty stable spot. There's a Scotty not too happy with the decisions that the game makes. Speeding up and slowing 3 times in Sector 3. This game is horse poo. Not quite the same words, but I'm sure you can tell what he was actually saying. Anyway, heading through Sector 3, turn 9 and 10. Ben still very close behind, but Don's made up 0.6 of a second after that mistake last lap during the last couple of corners. We have a Ferrari into the pits. It's David, who I really thought could have run to the end, but maybe there's an error. Maybe there's a bit of damage to the front wing that has caused that. With DRS now, we have Ben heading up into turn 3 up the inside. Commands the corner. Will get it. Not really a chance for Dark Salt to get the switch back, going from the outside through the inside. It means that with DRS though, Dark Salt's able to launch a bit of a comeback. Gonna get very far ahead. Chris setting the fastest lap on the softs. Okay. But I think the more important thing is we have Dark Salt back in the lead. Able to take the lead back after getting overtaken at turn 3. Able to clap back. And this fighting has helped Don close the gap even more. Back under a second. And there's a massive gap before it gets to 4th place. These really are the 3 front runners today. Ben's qualifying time wasn't quite there, but he's done a fantastic job so far in this race. With Grima in the pit lane, they're going to have... There could be a chance for Dark Salt to get some DRS heading down into turn 4, which is going to be very, very important. Unless, of course, Ben gets this move done. Jonty heading into the pits now. A lot of unexpected pit stops. Jonty's copping 5 seconds. It's going to be a nice defensive move there from Dark Salt. Heading through turn 3, and this Aston Martin is right on the back. We're going to watch Don here heading into turn 4. Some blue flags there for Joseph. And they just follow each other. This is unbelievable. This is the sort of driving, the sort of racing you live to see. Dark Salt holding firm right now against Ben and Don, who I'm sure Ben, whose mindset maybe a lap or 2 ago was all about attack, has turned immediately into defense, because Don is blisteringly quick at the moment. Has put together some really intense lap times on these hard tyres as well. So we have Creamer at the back of the pack. But again, both cars inside 5/10 of each other. And it's just going to be another race down to turn 3 again. I'm not sure if Dark Salt can hold it off this time. think he's going to go defensive. I'm sure Ben's happy to send it around the outside. Nope. He will have to tuck in. And I think that slow line and the early braking for the Mercedes has actually helped out Don once again. But with this DRS, I don't see him getting an overtake done through a DRS section or a DRS straight. Getting through turn 4 once more. And I think the ultimate killer for Don is the fact that he has a 3-second penalty, which is going to hurt his races, hurt his chances. Sorry, a lot. But all of the drivers in the top 4 have got long stints on hard tyres. Are these last 4 drivers expecting to run to the end on softs? I think that's a bit much to ask, honestly. Those softs, they're not going to make it another 12 or so laps. 12, 13 laps, that's a lot. I really think that's a bit too far. Don's fallen off slightly through the 3rd sector here. We'll watch Ben now as he's back inside 0.2 of a second, out to 3 again. Really feels like Dark Salt. Again, just making up all the time going into a corner, but sacrifices it through the exit. And Ben now, with so much overspeed, Dark Salt goes defensive. Ben right on the tail. And again, this fighting just brings Don back into it. Anytime the Haas and the Mercedes can get some clean driving together, clean racing, they're able to just get a little bit of gap from the Aston Martin. But as soon as there's a bit of a tussle and one car has to go defensive and the other one's looking to make an overtake stick, it's right when the Aston Martin gets back on the diffuser, as you see right here. Don 0.2 away. He is breathing down the neck of Ben right now. It is unbelievable. We will follow Don through the final sector. Heading through turn 9. Able to hold it there pretty well. Does lose a little bit of time. He actually loses a lot of time through turn 9 and 10. That's the one weakness we've seen so far from Don today. We're going still DRS down this main straight and heading up into turn 1. And he still have some again afterwards. These are the only drivers that are really sticking close to each other at the moment. A lot of drivers are 1 second or more away from their counterpart. I want to say counterpart. Their the next driver up the road. Don 0.6 away. Might be a chance for Ben though. 0.5. Don't see it closing too much. I think Dark Salt's going to be holding the lead again for the time being. Not sure about that line. That line looked like it brought in Ben so much closer. But here we go. Through turn 6. Nicely held. All the cars with nice lines. I think like Don made up a little bit of time there going through the chicane. Loses it again. Goes a little bit deep through turn 7 and has to sacrifice a bit of time through turn 8. Mounting the curb there, Ben. Then through turn 9. Don going very wide. And oh no! Ben, a massive spin. Oh, so unfortunate for Ben. Was doing such a great job. Has fallen behind Owen now. And now it's Don and Dark Salt. The classic green versus white that everyone asks for whenever they tune into Formula 1. They want to see the green team take on the white team. Just kidding. No one ever asked for that. But this is still a mouth-watering affair. Got Dark Salt now. It's only 0.3 up. And now it's inside 0.2. Or inside 3. Inside 2 almost. But Don going very deep into turn 4. Had to sacrifice the line on the exit. Was about to run into the back of the Haas. But again, this penalty just gives Dark Salt a bit of breathing room. He knows that if this overtake gets done towards the end of the race, he doesn't have to worry about getting blown out of the water or anything. I think he just knows that if he gets overtaken, he can just sit in the DRS and just ride it out to the end of the race. And it's all about Don here, who is under the most pressure. This penalty hanging over his head and the overtake not being made yet. He has to get in front and be in front by 3 seconds. He's got to push these tyres to the limit. Dark Salt, all he has to do is drive within himself, do nothing outrageous, as we have Don finally getting the overtake done, able to attack a driver when they don't have DRS. But it's going to be a bit of a return serve here for Dark Salt. 2.5 away. I expect a move to be made here going to turn 4. Gonna maybe send it up the inside? No, opts against it. I think it's a smart choice. in the grand scheme of things. Again, doesn't have to do anything silly, just has to keep it inside 3 seconds. You imagine it's the first second that's the most important. Just keeps the DRS and you're able to stick with the Aston Martin in the straights, which is so imperative for Dark Salt right now in his first showing in the Invictus Racing League. In the 15th season, no less. Ben, copping a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, has fallen down to 4th, has done a good job to get past Kent. We might be able to go back on board with him very soon, as he is getting close to the tail of Owen. But Don, able to hold the lead so far. It's just hanging around half a second. It means that Dark Salt's going to get DRS up into turn 3, and we'll get it after this corner as well. And it's, again, a good job so far from Dark Salt. Doesn't have to push these tyres too hard. Don needs to be the one to say, okay, I need to get this guy away from me because I'm not going to win the race otherwise. And so he's really worried about getting that gap out. Chris picking up a 3-second penalty. We will have an update on those penalties at the moment. 3 seconds for Don, 3 for Ben, 5 for Kent, 3 for David, 5 for Jonty, 6 for Chris, and 5 for Grima. We've got Dark Salt still inside 4 tenths, almost down to 3 tenths. Again, takes such a later braking point than the rest of the drivers on the grid. And it just means that the exit out after the corner is just off by just too much. And it means that you can't really get too many moves made through the exit of a corner, or with the drive that you get with better traction or anything. Every move has to be made by the corner, and then you have to try and hold it. Oh no! Dark Salt giving a love tap to Don. Don's not going to be happy about that one. He's going to let the place go back. That's a very wise decision. I think that's a very respectful decision between the two drivers, as Don just copped a little bump to the diffuser there. Dark Salt doing the gentleman's thing, offering the place back, and now he's probably hoping that he can ask for maybe a few more tenths to get back inside the DRS and hold on for this race win, as we have 6 more laps after this one. But it's a mistake from Don. Oh no. Lap 30. Who knew? Lap 30 would be the one to change the outlook of this race completely. Owen has kind of waltzed into second, and he's like, hello, I'm here. I'm still driving, you know. But now it's Dark Salt who has got a very sizable lead at the front, and it's going to be a fight for the podium, the last podium place, you'd imagine. Ben very close behind Don, and this is a fight we were hoping to see earlier. And there's no DRS for Don, so it could just be a great chance for Ben to get this move made up into turn 3. Goes to the outside, have so much overspeed, and we'll be able to make it stick. There's a nice little tap there. I feel like Don's trying to repay the favour, but he's also not doing it to the right driver. But maybe it's just some pent-up anger. He's frustrated at the mistake. He has the DRS going down to turn 4. There's a defensive line taken from Ben. Could be a chance of a switchback, but they get about the same drive out of the corner, and it means that they have to just settle for where they are, heading through turn 6 and 7 here. I do have Kent still hanging there or thereabouts, but I'm sure that he's going to get dropped off very soon. It's kind of how it goes for Kent. He's been looking alright. He's inside 8 tenths. He has actually brought back the gap quite nicely. And maybe the ferocity between these two drivers can cause him to maybe just slide up and take 3rd place out of nowhere. That is something that is very on the cards. Ben is also right on the tail now of Owen, in fact. So Owen is a real danger of losing his podium place. But it seems like Dark Salt now is just locked in for a victory. I don't see it going wrong for him. Yeah, I don't see anyone really catching up now, unless there's a mistake from the Haas driver. Ben, 5 tenths away from Owen. Trying to get this move done. Again, he probably has to wait until next lap. He's really got to try and close this lead in, and I think he's going to have a really strong opportunity to do it through the last couple of corners. That was a very wide line. I think Owen almost went off the track there. He's trying to get every ounce of speed that he can to try and keep this gap outside the second, but again, it's hanging around 4/10 and it's very dangerous. Kent outside a second now. David with a chance to get past Jonty, but we will follow with Ben through the main straight. It is 3.5 up to the line. DRS is open. There's one move from Owen. We will have to take a pretty standard line. Pretty sure Ben's very happy to tuck in and stay patient here and let the overtake make itself down this straight. Looks to the inside. Inside was free. Gonna go right up the inside, take the racing line a little bit. It's a bit of a defensive line that he ends up taking. Maybe try and stop the over-under from Owen, but it's got his turn at DRS heading down to turn 4. They're going side by side, and there's a chance for the Aston Martin who just creeps up the inside of Owen, but Ben getting that move, but they're still neck and neck heading into turn 6. Inside line for Ben. Owen with the outside. It looks like Ben's able to make it stick. Owen getting a 3-second penalty. They're all got penalties now. That was the ace up Owen's sleeve, was not having that penalty. We have a yellow flag inside the first sector. It looks like Chris going very slowly, but it looks like he's okay now. But Owen 4/10 away from Ben. Going to have DRS down this straight. It's really a matter of how well he can stick it through the corners. And we will watch Owen now. 3.5. He's got DRS. So does Don. I don't think Don's going to get the move done. It's so hard for him now. There's another car with DRS in front of him. And it just means that overtaking becomes so much harder. Can't get anything done. He gives Owen a little love tap. That's the second time Don's given. For every one love tap he gets, he gives away 2. And we have Owen now being pressured immensely from Don, but he's also pressuring Ben so much. We've got an outside line here from Owen. Don giving him not much time to think about where he has to put the car. He's like, I'm here. If you slip up, I'm getting past you instantly. And he's not even saying it out loud. He's whispering because he's like leaning over his shoulder, whispering into his ear. But Owen still doing a fantastic job. He's just hanging around Ben. That's all he needs to do. But it is the second last lap. And so there's not much time left for Owen to make this move stick. And there's not much time left for Don to try and get a podium place here. At the moment, it's going to be Ben who takes 2nd, Owen 3rd, Don 4th. And Kent in 5th. With Liquidus again. I'm not sure what's up with him. But there's a move from Owen. Getting the move done, and there's another attempt from Don. He always seems to just poke his head around when there's a move being made. And it's now the Aston Martin and the Mercedes going side by side down into turn 4. And Owen's made a bit of a gap. And it's the Aston Martin that gets in front going through turn 4. We're going to watch the Aston Martin now and see if there's a move that can be made on Owen and see if Owen can hold on to 2nd now with maybe 90 seconds left of racing, maybe just a little bit more than that. It's going to be quite a thrilling finish for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. You imagine. And maybe Kent, maybe he has a chance to get something done. He is still there, but he's just not quite there. You know, heading down. A final lap now. A 3-second penalty for Kent. That's probably killed his chances. That's not what you want to see. But it is Owen leading Don, leading Ben. And we've got DRS for Don and Ben. Breathing down the neck on Owen. And there's not many options here. I think Owen just has to take a defensive line and see if it works. But it's going to be a move up the inside from Don. He might make it stick. He does run a little wide, but he just gives a little nudge to Owen. And it means that Ben is under so much pressure. Owen doesn't have DRS. Ben's going to get past him. This is looking very bad for the Alpine driver. Don able to hold on to 2nd with a little tap. Ben getting the move done down the inside on Owen. Let's see if Owen can stick with him. They are very close still going through turns 6 and 7. We do have Dark Salt going through the last couple of corners now, who will take victory here. 10 seconds over Don, who looks like he's going to walk away with 2nd, and it's just between Ben and Owen. But it looks like Ben has the upper hand here. Victory here. Dark Salt, first race in the IRL. And he takes victory. Owen's running very wide. And it's going to be 2nd for Don, third for Ben, and there's a crash on the opening straight. Liquidus, not sure about that in the end, but it will be Dark Salt taking first. We will follow with Jonty as he's rounding the last couple of corners here on the last lap. But yes, Dark Salt, unbelievable drive in the first race. To show up, put the car P2, and then to end up in first and take away P1, a victory here at Austria. Second round of the season, really stamp your ground and be like, I know I just rocked up, but I can drive, you know? Like, you're just announcing to the world that you are not here to mess around. But Jonty taking the checkered flag, David, Chris, and that is it here in Austria. Not sure if we quite got to see who driver of the day was. Seems like there will be a bit to go through in this race. I don't think there's a few of the drivers that aren't too happy with the outcome. Don't know if I should really announce which drivers are saying these things, but there was a high amount of glitches. I guess we can. I guess I'll just say this information. We will look at the podium here. Haas driver, brilliant work today. Oh, unbelievable. Your first race in the league and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to win it, you know. Maybe he's just mucking around. This is Dark Salt, if I'm not mistaken. I'm terrible at remembering names right at the end of, like, after the race is over. It was Dark Salt in P1, P2 goes to Don, and P3 to Ben in the end. There seemed to be a lot of aggression towards the end of the race, so it really heated up in those last few laps. But there we go. Those are the final results. I'm sure the whole situation with Liquidus will get sorted out. But Kent might move up into P4, Owen P5, Jonty P6. But yeah, great drive from Ben today. Did a fantastic job. And we will wrap it up there. I don't think I'm really keen for an interview at 6:30 in the morning. But that is all. I can't really update the standings because there's a few drivers in there that I hadn't seen before and didn't drive last week and I wasn't aware of. So I can't update those standings for you live, but I can give you what they were after round one. We will look at them again, so you can look and see and add it up yourself if you are curious in the end. Haas stamping their ground, showing the league that, you know, it's their first appearance and they're just right up the front. That's what you like to see. You like to see newcomers proving themselves instantly to everyone. So yes, that will do it for me though. Thank you to all the drivers. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week for Invictus Racing League Season 15 Round 3, the PC League, which I'm sure is not just a PC League anymore, but we're in partnership with Grid Finder. Thank you and good night.